Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Economic Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, October 15th. We've been joined by council members Cunningham, Gordon, and Ellison, as well as I believe our other two committee members will be here shortly. I want to just take care of a couple of things on the agenda first, including the consent agenda, which is items 6 through 15. I'll note that this is the liquor license approvals and renewals, gambling license approvals and renewals. We're also submitting applications for our environmental grant funding round for the 2019 brownfield grants, as well as accepting some grants in item number 14 and accepting grants in item number 13 and 15. So there are a number of items on consent. Are there any items anyone would like to pull? Seeing none, I'll move the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. I'm also going to move item 6 to the top of the agenda. It's a public hearing, but not a liquor public hearing. So why don't we start with item number 6, and then we will run through 1 through 5, and then do the quasi-judicial. Ms. Shaw, welcome. We've also been joined by Councilmember Cano.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. You have before you a request to pass a resolution giving preliminary and final approval to authorization of the issuance of up to $8,250,000 in 501c3 tax-exempt revenue bonds. The bonds will be issued to the FFA Building Company for the acquisition, renovation, equipping and expansion of an existing facility at 3320 East 41st Street for Friendship Academy of the Arts Charter School project. Friendship Academy is currently located at 2600 East 38th Street with 170 students from kindergarten through 7th grade. And this proposal is to purchase and equip a second facility to include offices, classroom space, gym, cafeteria, exterior infrastructure for an additional 350 students. The plan is to put the kindergarten and first grade students in the former facility and then have 2nd through 8th grade into the new facility. And the financing approvals are moving through city process. At the same time, the planning approvals are moving through process. Closing on the bonds are contingent upon all city approvals. And I have individuals from the project here to answer any questions that you might have about the project.
Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw on item number 6? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is preliminary and final approval for up to $8.25 million in 501c3 tax-exempt revenue bonds for the Friendship Academy of the Arts Charter School. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
I would like to move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 6 has been moved. Further comments and questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll then move on to item number 1, starting with Quincy Hall, and ask staff for their presentation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Christina Steester, and I'm a lead licensed inspector assigned to liquor establishments in the 2nd Precinct. I'm presenting an application from Quincy Hall, owned by Crave Catering Event Center, LLC. Quincy Hall is located at 1325 Quincy Street Northeast in the 1st Ward. The applicant is requesting an on-sale liquor, general entertainment with Sunday sales license. The proposed hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., Friday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. They have indoor seating for 800 and seating for 50 on an outdoor patio. On September 23rd, 117 public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the Logan Park Neighborhood Organization, the Northeast Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce, and Council Member Reich's office. We have received 11 comments from the community. All expressed some sort of concern from anywhere from parking issues to noise to other livability concerns. The liquor license will cover 17,500 square feet of the banquet hall. This hall will be rented out for weddings, corporate events, and other galas. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends the approval of an on-sale liquor general entertainment with Sunday sales license for Quincy Hall.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Deester. I'm wondering what other buildings and projects in that area are open till 2 a.m.?
Of my understanding, I'm not aware of any.
Okay, so would that raise a concern with staff that none of the other establishments are open that late, but you're recommending this one is?
The staff, as far as our office, was concerned once the community start bringing forth their concerns. Then that's when we started looking at other establishments around in the area.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your report.
One other thing, ma'am. So once the community members did start bringing about their concerns and complaints, I did go back to the licensee, and we had conversations, and that was when they reduced their hours during the week from their 2 a.m. initial request to 12 a.m.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for staff with regard to this report? Seeing none, I want to thank Councilmember Reich for being here today, and note for the record that Councilmember Fletcher is in attendance and would like to be recorded as voting on the first item that we had already voted on in the affirmative. Thank you. We're going to open the public hearing on item number 1. I have a couple people who have signed up to speak. I don't know how many people are interested in speaking, but you're all welcome. If you could keep your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that would be great. We can start with Paula. There are 2 people who signed in advance, and I would invite them to come up and speak. Paula and the second one, I don't want to ruin your name, so I won't say it out loud, but please stand up and... Ben. Okay, great.
Hi.
Paula, welcome. If you
thank
could state
you.
your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Paula Allen, and it's Allan. It gets confused easily. 1207 Monroe Street. I'm a 31-year owner-occupied duplex in Logan Park. So thank you, Madam Chair, and the committee for hearing us. This is in my backyard, and I have an industrial backyard. It used to be General Mills with toasted oats, and the train that goes by wakes you up and puts you to sleep. I'm concerned about the 2 o'clock. Everybody else on the avenue has been very respectful of the neighborhood, and people leave their businesses at midnight. And we also do have an event center at the corner of Quincy and 15th, and they do close at midnight. So I feel this 2 o'clock is sort of an economic disadvantage by handing it over to them for 2 o'clock. The noise and traffic, we don't know. It is very frightening to have 800 people invade your neighborhood at any point in time, with everybody else who comes. It's a little dicey, and Quincy is not the best street to go up and down. People have started to use Monroe's Alley as an alternative street to Quincy at this point in time. So the neighbors are concerned about that. And I guess it will be a wait and see, but I truly am not in favor of this 2 o'clock. But midnight, that's everybody else, and everyone else but them have come to the neighborhood to discuss this. We had a small meeting, and we called it on Saturday at their facility. So,
Thank you for your testimony.
thank you.
Ben, would you, sorry to call you by your first name, sir? Mr. Ben?
You confirmed how terrible my handwriting is, so I'm just actually going to read something that I sent to Kevin last week, and some of this has changed in between based on what we just heard, but I'll read it anyway. So I'm Ben Durant. My family lives on Monroe Street in Northeast also, and I'm also a board member on the Logan Park Neighborhood Association. I'm writing to convey some of the concerns I have about the project overall and the process to this point. I want to add that I'm not opposed to development and change in the area. I've owned the house for over 20 years and lived across the park before that. I named my son Logan, so just saying. But I'm happy to have the neighbors that we have on Quincy, Indeed, Centro, Able, Highlight. We go to all of those places all the time. I like to spend my money there rather than at a chain. So Some of the areas of concern I have, though, operating hours. Obviously, we talked about that. That's changed since when I sent this on Friday. But still, I think that 2 a.m. thing, even if it's just Friday or Saturday, does sort of open up the gates to either other tenants in the building when they move in, other businesses on that street saying, well, if this other one can stay open till 2, maybe we should also. I think it just kind of sets a precedent that changes things, the dynamics on that street. Safety, I was working in my yard last week and heard a big crash. Somebody coming down the hill from Central hit somebody pulling out of Quincy, that street, just taking a left there. And it was a pretty terrible accident. And that sort of thing happens a lot because of the amount of traffic we have now on that street. This will only add to that. And it is just a very busy residential intersection that's now become a lot more commercial. Livability, some things that have already been brought up, but in terms of parking, ride sharing, and foot traffic, if it extends that late into the evening when you're surrounding a bunch of other housing, concerned about that. Sound abatement in terms of the structure itself, it's a big kind of cavernous space. Sound kind of echoes around in there. I mean, we'll see in the end, but based on the foundation event, I'm concerned about that. And then it's also surrounded by parking lots that are reflectors for sound, so I think it just will be an issue. Transparency. We want businesses that are going to move in, they're going to be good neighbors that are in it for the long haul, not just wanting to cash in on a hot neighborhood, which we are right now. Others moving in have definitely reached out to the neighborhood organization, have done more outreach in terms of flyering. I never received the one that apparently was sent, but have just done more outreach. And when neighbors have asked questions about the development work itself on the building, this is about the developer, not the people leasing it, but they just told us, we have a super permit, whatever that is, and we never really knew what was going on with the building of that space. I think that's it, so.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
I'll be asking staff what a super permit is. Be prepared to answer that question. Anyone else would like to speak? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Nestor. I'm with Hillcrest Development. We're the owner of 807 Broadway, the west parking lot on Quincy, and as of last week, the proud owner of the former General Mills facility at 1201 Jackson. We were unable to make the Saturday meeting. We have been working with the applicant. We have a temporary license agreement to use a portion of one of our parking lots because we do have access control that we're putting in place for our tenants and our users at our building. I was told that they said they could use our parking lot until 6 in the morning. So I'm just here, we're an advocate for the use. We think it'll be a good fit, but as provided it works within the neighborhood context, and 1159 is what our license agreement says for the events that they might use our parking. So, thank you.
Do you know what a super permit is?
David's never shared that with me. I'd love to know.
Okay.
We've never had a super permit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Andy Rank. I live at 1403 Monroe Street Northeast, right behind the venue as well. I just want to echo what Paul and Ben said. I certainly thank you for being astute in asking the question about are other businesses open past midnight, because the answer is no. So certainly we're concerned about that. But I want to bring up an issue around traffic. I believe this company owned this building back when the Super Bowl was in town in 2018. They hosted a party here. They were completely unprepared for traffic management, and I don't know to what extent an owner of such property is responsible for traffic management, but certainly I know the police and the fire department are not happy when, so traffic on Quincy was backed up for hours. It was backed up on Broadway between Monroe and Central. People were, as Paula mentioned, people were using our alleyway during that time. Traffic was also backed up on 15th. This was literally for hours during the Super Bowl party that they hosted. I know that the same company owns Muse Event Center on 3rd Avenue in the North Loop. They are notorious for having traffic management issues as well. There are cars constantly backed up whenever they're having parties. and the valet can't keep up with the amount of traffic. So I'm just concerned about the traffic there. I don't know to what extent you can force them to hire, police, for traffic management during their events, or other ways to mitigate this. But there's an exit on 14th from Quincy that has a train that goes by every 15, 20 minutes. So that blocks one of the other exits, which I'm sure the fire department knows about, and they would not, be happy about hosting 800 people and having them, manage this traffic as well. So, anything that you could do to force this owner, and I understand they're going to have a parking lot, and that's great, and places to put the car are good, but when people are arriving and leaving, during the Super Bowl party, we were held captive in our house because we couldn't leave, we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't get groceries for hours on end. And so we're concerned about that. I think it's a real problem, and it needs to be addressed, if not by the owners, then by someone on this committee that can, force them to hire some police presence or something. So, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Is the applicant here? Are you going to speak? I can, yes. Please do.
I'm from Crave Catering and Quincy Hall.
What is your name, ma'am?
Pauline Hochmuth.
Thank you.
To address the Super Bowl issue, we don't own the building, and the Super Bowl event was actually 2,000 people, and they had more of the building than we have. So we have never owned a building, and 800 is our capacity. But to give you some comments we put together for the neighborhood that we sent, Quincy Hall is an event venue that's operated by Crave Catering and Events. It's not a restaurant or open to the public. The events will be predominantly on Friday and Saturday with some corporate meetings on Thursdays. The Thursday events typically end at 10 because they're usually business events. The Friday and Saturday events are either going to be nonprofit galas or weddings, and they end at varying times depending when they start. Guest counts are average weddings, which would be probably the basic backbone of our business, would be 250 to 350 because that's what we're seeing right now when we're handling all the inquiries for next year. Our corporate meetings and nonprofit galas would be generally 350 to 650. 650 is not the norm. There aren't that many parties that are that large in this city. So our average guest size will probably be between 350 and 400 overall between all the events. Parking, we do have the on-site parking, and we do have the agreement to rent your parking space. We did tell the neighborhood if we notice that cars are going not towards Broadway, but the other way, that we would have security directing people to leave the proper way so they don't go through the neighborhood. Security is required when you book the event space, so we will have security. Noise, as we talked to the neighborhood on Saturday, we said we are in control of the noise levels. If something's too loud, we dictate like what volume they can be at, and there will be no amplified sound outside ever. And when the sound is going on inside, we'll have the doors closed. So that's the information that I had sent out to the neighborhood, and I understand that they're not very happy that we didn't reach out, and that the developers never reached out, and there are some things that came to light that we didn't realize that developer had not notified them of, but we are not the owners of the building, and we're not cashing in on anything. We signed the lease over 2 years ago, and it's been a long process for, I don't know what the developers are doing in terms of permits, but they're still not finished with the building, so we didn't just jump on board. We've been there over 2 years and probably 2 months now since we've signed the lease, and I think we're the only signed tenant in that building at the moment. I don't know what their plans are for the rest of the building. So those are comments if you have any questions for me.
Are there any questions? I'm just curious, who is the owner of the building?
R2.
Ah,
They're out of Chicago.
yeah, okay. Great, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Reich, thank you for being here today. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for your indulgence. I will just echo some of the comments that the committee has made. Though we've had very limited interface with the proposal today and the community, There's no shortage of commentary that we've had with all the other proposals that have gone before, as this area has changed from a predominantly industrial area to sort of a mixed industrial commercial area. And of course, a lot of those insights that have been forged between community and some of the newer end users in this area, a consensus has somewhat emerged, and I'll be relying on that consensus, and it's been alluded to. The outer limit of time has been midnight. That is for the same use, which is the event center. The brewers and distillers in this general area have been circumscribed to 11 p.m. So that's sort of the tone and tenor in terms of time, and I would concur with the community on that point. Also, it's interesting that they would have to have the appropriate parking per our own ordinance, and part of that is subject to the lease arrangement, and that lease arrangement also terminates a minute before midnight. So I'm hoping that someone would make the motion to adjust it accordingly for all days. And in terms of the noise, traffic, et cetera, they do have a plan before us. Staff has reviewed that. It's one of those things time will tell. Do they actually execute it well? And when they come before us for renewal, we'll be able to scrutinize the effectiveness of their plan and their willingness to put it in place to the satisfaction of the community nearby. I'll note that the community has embraced the change. It's worked out because of partnership and communication, and I would encourage that to be the formula moving forward with this as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. With that, Councilmember Fletcher has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I am curious about, so if we have an event center, if there was a one-off event, we would look at their traffic plan, we would look at all those things and decide whether to give them an event permit. And at a certain size, we would say you need to have someone to manage traffic coming in and out or whatever. With an event center, we're sort of pre-approving events at that scale. So I guess I'm wondering if they're at their sort of maximum capacity, is there a point at which we would, if we were giving an event permit for a one-time event, that we would require reg services to have traffic enforcement out to help with traffic flow, and should we build that in as a condition to say if you're doing an event that's larger than 400 or large, I don't know what the right number would be, I'd look to staff for guidance on that, but something that says some of the events, some of the conditions that we might consider putting on one-time events, that we might have some thresholds where if an event is a certain size, it triggers some requirements to manage the inflow and some of those issues.
So it sounds like they're conferring, which I'm uncomfortable with, because I don't want them to be making something up on the fly under pressure. So why don't I make a motion that potentially could incorporate all of these things? Okay. How does that sound? So I'm going to move to grant the approval for the on-sale liquor with Sunday sales and general entertainment license, but I am going to move that the business be closed by 11 o'clock on weekdays and midnight on weekends. I'll also direct staff between now and the meeting on a week from Friday to determine at what point traffic control might be required at this location, and to communicate with the applicant about that based on the information she shared with us with regard to who their clients are. I don't think it's fair to blame someone coming in for something that happened in the past if they didn't do it, and I know the neighbors will agree with that. But I think it's a legitimate question to ask, if 800 people are coming to an event, is that one time a year? Or I would guess the bulk of their business is bar mitzvahs and weddings and that kind of thing. And so I've been to very few of those that have 800 people coming to them. So I think with regard to the traffic control, we would ask staff to work with the applicant and forward to us and Councilmember Reich what some solutions could be prior to the council meeting. Does that help, Councilmember Fletcher?
It does. I have one more question.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you very much. One of the testifiers mentioned the foundation event a couple of weeks ago that several of us attended. And one thing I'll note is that they had amplified sound in a tent outside. There was a jazz band playing at a pretty good volume in a tent. Would that be allowed under the current license, or is that when we're saying no amplified sound outside, are we not allowing that use? Because I'm going to guess that was the source of any consternation about noise, and I don't want that event to be held against this license if in fact that was the issue and we're not allowing that moving forward.
Hi, Craig Eliason, District Supervisor. Any amplified sound outside, even in a tent, would require an amplified sound permit from Environmental Services. So that would be up and beyond what this license would be granted for, any outdoor amplified sound, and reviewed by the folks in Reg Services and in Environmental Management.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So the motion is to approve the recommendation from staff but adjusting the hours to 11 o'clock during weekdays and midnight on weekends, as well as working with staff to determine when traffic control might or might not be required at this location. Everyone understand the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you all for being here today. I thank staff in advance for working with the applicant on the traffic control issue. We'll move on to item number 2, which is patisserie 46.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Mohammed Ismail. I'm a lead licensed inspector assigned to 5th Precinct. I'm presenting an application from Big River Baking Company LLC, doing business as Patisserie 46, located at 4552 Grand Avenue South in Ward 8. Patisserie 46 currently has a restaurant, sidewalk, cafe, catering, and food distributor license. They are requesting to add an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales with no live entertainment. Business has indoor seating for 46 and outdoor for 34 in combination of sidewalk and private patio. The proposed hours are Sunday through Saturday, 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. Also, they would like to open until midnight, occasionally for special events. Notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to Kingfield Neighborhood Association, Nicollet East Harriet Business Association, and Council Vice President Andrew Jenkins. We have received 5 responses. 3 support the liquor license and 2 have concerns about parking issues. A review of 311 calls and police calls found no significant issues concerning this establishment. The License and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales with no live entertainment for Patisserie 46. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales for Patisserie 46. I note Mr. Kraus is here. We're grateful for you to be here, given your incredible nationwide success. If you'd like to come up and speak, as well as anyone else who'd like to speak to this application. Congratulations to you on your incredible success.
Thank you very much. I'm John Kraus from Patisserie 46, and we've been there for 10 years, and I do understand the parking thoughts, but I think I know that the research that we've done, about 50% of our guests are walking to the place. It's a neighborhood spot, so I think we, after 10 years, can kind of figure that that's going to be okay. And if it's not, then I'll obviously do something about it. Also, we have a license at Rose Street and Linden Hills, and judging by the amount of wine people drink with pastries, I don't think it's going to change much. Because we are kind of on a national and a world scale, and I would like to offer something a little bit more exciting, maybe not exciting, but something special for the guests that do come in. And I think champagne and chocolate, or wine and chocolate, I don't see a lot of late evenings at Patisserie 46, quite frankly.
That's the only time you'll be able to get in.
Yeah. But I would love to be able to offer champagne and pastries. I think it would be lovely, and it's why we are here.
Thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
and for your work in the city, for
Well,
your
thank you
testimony.
very much.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
I'll move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved of item number 2. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 3. Let's see. Mr. Jacobs, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Dan Jacobs, licensed inspector assigned to 2nd Precinct. Today I'm presenting an application from First Hideaway Incorporated, doing business as the Hideaway. They're located at 1309 4th Street Southeast in Ward 3. The Hideaway currently has an exclusive tobacco license. They are requesting an extended hours license. Their current allowable hours are 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. They're requesting to operate from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days per week. Notices of this public hearing were sent to residents and property owners within 300 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to Marcy Holmes Neighborhood Organization, Dinkytown Business Association, and Councilmember Fletcher. We have not received any responses. A security plan was reviewed and approved by Minneapolis Police Department 2nd Precinct. We did a review of 311 calls and police calls and found no significant issues concerning this establishment. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an extended hours license for the Hideaway.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is an extended hours of operation license for the Hideaway at 1309 4th Street Southeast. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Is the applicant here to speak to this issue? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Jeff Ashland. I am the general manager for the businesses. What else did you want?
Just tell us what you're up to.
We've had the college club just opened right next door to us. They remodeled where it used to be the library, and we were seeing a lot more traffic on the sidewalk. We think that there's some business for us to be had between 11 and 2 a.m. with people out and about at the bars and the Varsity Theater across the street. So we'd like to extend our hours.
Sounds good. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
I'll move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 3 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4. Ms. Harvett, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and council members. I'm Michelle Harvett. I'm a lead license inspector at Business Licensing. I have the Downtown West neighborhood for liquor establishments and all the adult entertainment establishments. I'm presenting an application to this committee from 801 Chop House MSP LLC, doing business as 801 Chop House. They're located at 801 Nicollet Mall, Suite 100 in Ward 7. There currently is no license at this location. It previously was a Barnes & Noble bookstore. The applicant is requesting an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales license with no live entertainment to operate a restaurant with alcohol service. 801 Chop House intends to provide background music whenever they're operating. They will have seating for 318 people, and their operating hours will be 11 a.m. to midnight. On October 2nd, 2019, 18 public hearing notices were mailed to property owners within 450 feet of the licensed or proposed licensed premises. Notices were also emailed to Councilmember Goodman, to the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association, and the Warehouse District Business Association. We have received 0 responses from this mailing. At this time, we recommend approving an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales, no live entertainment license for 801 Chop House.
Thank you. Thanks for your report. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is an on-sale liquor license with Sunday sales for 801 Chop House. Is anyone here to speak to this issue? Is the applicant here? Please step forward. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Rich Dahl. I'm a lawyer in Minneapolis here with Madigan, Dahl & Harlan. I represent 801 Chop House. It is going to be a 1920s-style New York fine dining restaurant to compete with the likes of Manny's, Murray's, and some of the other fine steakhouses in the Minneapolis area. I'm personally very excited to be here. I know my clients are very excited. The Lynch brothers, who are really the operators and owners of the facility, have, I think, now 10 restaurants in a number of major cities around the United States, and this is their 6th steakhouse. They're experienced, good quality, high quality operators. They're very excited to join the Minneapolis business community.
Great, and if you could pass on to them, we're very pleased with their cooperation with regard to the redevelopment of 8th Street and the additional pedestrian access and the changes that were made, and that they really embraced our changes instead of fighting them. And so please pass on our thanks for their cooperation in this very important public works project.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
I'll move approval of this item as well.
Approval of item number 4 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. And the last liquor and entertainment license we have is item number 5. Mr. Ishmael.
Thank
Welcome
you, Madam
back.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. I'm presenting an application from 2424 Partners, Inc., doing business as Zeres, located at 2424 Nicollet Avenue, South in Ward 10. The current applicant has a food manufacturer, and they are requesting to add an on-sale wine with a strong beer with no live entertainment. The business has indoor seating for 30 and a 17 for private patio. The hours of operation for this business are Tuesday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday, Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday from noon to 8 p.m., and they would like to open occasionally for special events 1 a.m. Notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to Whittier Alliance and Council President Lisa Bender. We have received 5 responses which all support the new wine application. A review of 311 calls and police calls found no significant issue concerning this establishment. Licensing and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale wine with strong beer with no live entertainment. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 5, which is an on-sale wine and strong beer license for Zetas at 2424 Nicollet. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please, are you here for this?
Yeah, I'm from Zetas.
Okay, come on up. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing.
My name is Brian Hoffman. We opened last January, and we make a homemade Italian sandwich. Everything is homemade. The ricotta, the flatbread, the pesto. We pickle our own jalapenos. And it's based on an Italian street food sandwich from Bologna in northeastern Italy. And if you've ever been to Italy, or even if you haven't been to Italy, you know that wine and beer is kind of something that's expected when you have a sandwich like this one or any kind of Italian food. And as far as the permit goes, I was born in this neighborhood. I've lived in this neighborhood for 15 years. My parents had a store in the 1960s and 70s on 26th Street. My mother-in-law has a sewing shop 2 doors down from us. So I'm just as sensitive as anybody else of any disruption we would cause.
Well, thank you very much for being here. It sounds like we need to take a field trip to have this sandwich.
I'll leave
really
you
cool.
A coupon, okay?
Thank you for being here
Thank you so
today.
much. Yeah.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
Happy to move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved of item number 5. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Our last remaining item is a quasi-judicial item. I will first want to read the admonition statement. This is a quasi-judicial license hearing for which this committee is limited by law to hearing arguments from the parties to the matter, consisting of the city's regulatory staff and the license holder or the license holder's representative. This committee is prohibited from receiving any further evidence or additional testimony. The parties are required to limit their comments to arguments specifically addressing the evidence or testimony introduced before the administrative hearing officer, who previously conducted the full evidentiary hearing into this matter. The parties may not offer, and the committee may not consider, any new or additional evidence that is not already part of the record developed by the evidentiary hearing. The committee has been provided with the record of this matter, and I'll just note it's this very large record, including the report and the recommendation of the administrative hearing officer. With that, I'll see if Mr. Fussy has anything he'd like to start with.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly, you're correct. There's just a little bit difference in the quasi-judicial nature of this hearing because it was through our Chapter 249 process. And so, although there was a hearing that was in front of our panel, our staff panel, and not a hearing officer, but everything else rings true. And I know that staff are here to present the matter.
Okay, so let's see who is here to present this matter.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Brian Starry, manager of the Prime Property Unit, City of Minneapolis Regulatory
You're
Services.
Brian Starry in person.
Oh, the inspections
wow,
I
that's
am.
fun
Thank
to meet
you.
you.
The matter came before the nuisance condition process review panel on September 12th of 2019. On June 28th of 2019, a director's order to raise the property had been sent to Ralph Jean Pierre. The order was appealed, but there was no appeal statement. The property at 3927 Upton Avenue South is a 4,175 square foot lot in the Linden Hills neighborhood. It had a former single-family dwelling built upon it, but was removed by the property owner due to the exceeding scope of the work that had been approved by the development review staff. Only the former attached double garage and portions of the foundation wall remain. The property has been determined to be substandard, and the site is in poor condition, with demolition debris strewn about and mixed into dirt piles. Development Services staff conducted a historical review of the property, finding that the property does not constitute an historic resource since the main structure was previously demolished. The wrecking permit application was approved and returned to the Minneapolis Development Review. There was no estimated cost to rehabilitate the property as the main structure no longer exists. The Community Planning and Economic Development contracted appraiser has determined the fair market value of the site to be estimated at $450,000. The estimated cost to demolish the structure is between $15,000 and $22,000. The Linden Hill Neighborhood Council and the owners of the property within 350 feet were mailed requests for a community impact statement. The department received 8 responses. 7 felt the property had a negative impact, and 7 stated that the remaining structure should be demolished. The Linden Hills Neighborhood Council Zoning and Housing Committee responded that they oppose the property owner's appeal and support demolition of the property as it has had a negative impact on the neighborhood and does not meet housing needs. The nuisance condition process review panel recommends that the director's order to raise the property located at 3927 Upton Avenue South be upheld.
Thank you for your report, Mr. Starry. Are there any questions for staff? Councilmember Ellison.
This is just out of pure curiosity. You said that there were 8 responses and 7 from the neighbors agreed. What was the one response?
I asked that question myself to my administrator. The response, the one missing response, was from a commercial property located in the area. They didn't answer all of the questions on the form, but they also had wanted to uphold the support of the demolition of the structure as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll open the public hearing on item number 7 and ask if the owner or the owner's representative is here today. Is the owner or owner's representative here? Last call for the owner or owner's representative with regard to the order to raise and remove a building at 3927 Upton Avenue South. Seeing that they're not here, I will close the public hearing and move the staff recommendation. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you for your report. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.